All right, Sunderland. So we mentioned in passing in the news segment, we mentioned the Sunderland match for a moment, and I think you, Keith, mentioned it was today. And yes, we are, due to American sports have featuring the Super Bowl, that little competition happening this weekend on the day that we usually record, Sunday. We are recording this on Saturday, the day that we beat Sunderland 3-0. But it was interesting viewing circumstances for me on this one. I guess you could say I joined the Mile High Football Club. Mile High FC.
Before you finish the story, I just want to remind you and everyone listening that this is a family-friendly show. PG rated.
What I mean by that is that this match was happening while I was in the airport, working my way through, waiting to get onto the flight. And I realized a little ways into the flight that, there's free Wi-Fi through Delta, which is the airline I was flying. And I was actually able to bring up Peacock, and which, as I say it out loud, isn't helping the family friendliness of this discussion, but bring it up and watch the replay. I watched the first 80 minutes of the replay. I saw almost the whole match in the air, and had I started it sooner, I would have been able to watch the whole thing, but I didn't expand my mind to this possibility. I've never really used in-flight Wi-Fi. I've always treated it as an offline only exercise. So it looked gross a lot of the time, like super grainy and pixelated, and they're definitely capping your bandwidth pretty low. But for this, compared to like actually watching a movie or something, it was fine. I was able to make out the players enough, especially watching on my Apple Vision Pro with a 40-foot screen in front of me or whatever. It helps smooth that out a little bit. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I can also say that I've never felt more sick while watching a match, even some of our losses in recent years. But that wasn't on Arsenal. That was on the extremely turbulent descent that we had toward the end. But
well, good. Yeah. I've never been a real big fan of in-flight Wi-Fi. So I usually just read a book and just try to stay. It's the moment I can shut off my phone and not worry about anyone trying to.
Yeah, that's usually how I treat it. But given the pressure of trying to watch this and record with you, which in the back of my mind, if it didn't work out, we could still talk about it. If I'd only seen the highlights, but it's nice. I like always watching the whole match. But yeah, that was cool how it worked out. But yeah, this is a fun one, and definitely more fun match to watch than the Carabao Cup second leg from earlier in the week. Both teams were kind of playing more.
Yeah, I think this is a game that we kind of played a little bit in second gear. It felt like we were. I don't want to say we could have just turned it on at any moment, because I don't think that's really accurate. But it did feel like, if we really needed to, there was probably another level we could have hit. And it's hard. It's a little hard. We've talked a little bit about Sunderland. They're certainly a team that has benefited a great deal from their home record. They've been very good at home this season, and that's a big reason. I think we saw how difficult that was. We drew with them up at the Stadium of Light. That's pretty much what's, I think, at this point sealed their spot in the league for next season. Not officially, I don't think, but I do actually. I thought I saw somewhere today that this result actually does officially. I think we are officially clinched to not be relegated this year.
We Arsenal have clinched not being relegated.
I thought I saw someone say that.
That's a relief.
I know. Good. First box checked. But yeah, I guess with this, they counter that with being a team that has struggled a great deal on the road. Now, granted, I think they said they've only won 2 road games this season. Now, granted, one of them was Stamford Bridge. So, but this is a team missing Granit Xhaka, our old friend, who's definitely been a real important addition for them, and it's helped them a lot in terms of their stability, in terms of I think handling the Premier League. Obviously, they're a solid group. They're well coached. But yeah, I thought overall, they packed 10 minutes in the box. They had a few stretches there where they were testing us in the back line. I think we got a little shaky in a few places, but overall, I think once Zubimendi put it in, there was one moment in the second half where I was like, "Ooh, I don't know," but then we got a couple of goals late from Gyökeres, and it's kind of a nice it's a nice looking 3-0 in the books. It's not a
definitely. I guess the only thing where I differ a little bit is maybe having felt that we were a little bit in second gear. I did worry because we've had those boneheaded mistakes that we've made late in matches a few times this season, where all of a sudden, like, we take what would have been a 3-0 victory or a 2-0 victory, and all of a sudden it becomes like a 2-1 victory or a draw or something. And that was, I was worried about that a couple times when they had their moments of danger. There's one or two passes on the back half that were a little loose. Raya had one really bad distribution, but it was harmless. It went all the way across to the other keeper, but uncharacteristic for him. And he, talking about Raya for a minute, he also bobbled the ball on 2 separate occasions. And it seemed like it might have just been them like pressing into his space more, where like his arms were hitting into their heads or something. I don't think it was all on him necessarily, but it was a little shaky for him.
Yeah, I don't want to read too much into those because we've talked sort of about like one of his strengths, of course, is handling the ball in the box and sort of taking command of his box. I mean, every player has those moments. Like it's a testament to Raya that he does them. We all go, "Whoa, what was that?"
Right.
That I think is a testament to what he's been able to do overall as our keeper. So I don't feel super bad about that one.
Yeah, no. But so that Zubamendi goal, wow, that went exactly in the only place that it could have gone to result in a goal. That was a pretty nice shot, pretty nice build up to the shot.
Yeah, and I thought Trossard had a pretty good game there out on the left. Zubamendi's had a few goals this year. I thought, quickly, because Trossard had 1 or 2 chances. We talked about 10 men in the box that got blocked up top. He had one that as he was shooting it, even when I saw it get blocked, the trajectory, I was like, ooh, that was a goal. But he also
had the one that went into like Madueke's head or shoulder or something too. That was unfortunate.
But he gets it to Zubamendi. It's a perfectly placed shot. And you can see the keeper. He reaches. It gets past him, hits the post, and you can see him looking back over his shoulder as it rolls back in. I mean,
right.
The bend he has on that, so that when it the kind of bend, so that when it hits the post, it ricochets that way. I mean,
right, ricochets in instead of out. Yeah,
that was fantastic. So he's and you saw. I don't know if you noticed he did the little half version of the Marino celebration for his countrymen there, circled the corner flag, and
It's funny. I know Marino does that. I kind of think of it in my head as the Mario celebration. It reminds me of like when Mario like circles the flagpole at the end of a level or something.
I mean, I don't know that that's not where it came from. I don't know.
You heard it here first.
I don't know that that's not true.
No, that was good. I know Marino, he appreciated that. You could see him chuckling in the stands.
Yeah.
After.
I mean, I think he also appreciated the goal.
Yeah.
I have to say, we mentioned this a little bit. There's a little bit of a couple of looks into the stands. There was the look at Marino up there. We also saw Odegaard up there. I thought it was funny. The guy, it looked like the guy next to Odegaard, who I'm sure it's a private box. I'm sure it's someone he knows. It just looked like a random dude in an Arsenal shirt. Like, he looked like one of us. Like, I was looking good. Is Odegaard just next to some random fan up there? I wonder if he knows who he's sitting next. I wonder if the fan knows that's just sitting next to him. It was a kind of a fun, weird thing to look at.
I missed that.
And then you noticed we were in the bar. We couldn't pick him out. We couldn't figure out who it was, but you noticed a famous person up in the stand.
Yeah, I mean, I have the benefit of also hearing the commentary, but this is a face I definitely would have recognized anyways. But Tom Hiddleston, Loki, Marvel's Loki from the series and the movies, Thor's adopted ice frost giant brother. Yeah.
The god
Norse
of mischief.
God of mischief, right?
Yeah. Ben White's spirit animal.
Exactly. He's harder to pick out without the the Loki horns coming out of his head.
Much like looking for a professional athlete when they're not in uniform. When he's not in costume, you don't know who he is.
Yeah, I remember seeing his name when we've looked up before the list of famous Arsenal supporters that is maintained on Wikipedia. His name's come up on there before alongside some other Marvel affiliated actors. But yeah, no, it was good seeing him. But yeah, so the Gyökeres goals, I mean, both some pretty skilled goals from open play. That was good to see.
Yeah, I think you hope he's starting to find a little bit of a groove. We talked about the difficulties of of moving him in, and are we disappointed with him? Not all of that. I will say this too: he played just about every minute of the first half of the season, and I wonder if getting a little bench time is making him a little fresher when he comes on. And I think too, one of the goal he scored against Leeds, he basically outmuscled the defender to put it in. Like if he doesn't score the goal, that's probably a penalty. Think back to the Leeds game.
Yeah.
He has one, and he has one here. He kind of, he's able to finish off a chance. Same one. This was the third goal. His second was probably I think was definitely the most impressive one.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of fallen over, but he gets a tremendous amount of power for a guy who's like not planting his leg. Like, well, he is strong.
That wasn't even the most impressive thing to me. What I saw that impressed me with that goal is you've got Martinelli, like well known for his speed on the break. Gyökeres starts off from a position behind him, sees the play that's developing, and runs his Swedish butt off.
Yeah,
and gets ahead, not in an offside position, but gets level with Martinelli in a way to finish that. He was running, and that's the type of thing I don't think you have happen if he isn't subbed in late in the game and totally fresh, unless that same thing happens 30 minutes in instead of 90 minutes in. But
yeah. I mean, we've seen a couple of times where he's late on some of the breaks, but a lot of times the being late on those kinds of things isn't raw speed. Although we've seen a couple of times where I think he certainly doesn't have Martinelli's raw speed, but a lot of times that's anticipation. Like you don't have to be fast if you know where you're going. And it's been the benefit of a player like we've talked about Mikel Merino, we've talked about Kai Havertz and some of their benefits. I think I'd be curious to see what they look like if you just had them sprint. Like if you actually had watched the Arsenal players all run sprints against each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Martinelli would win, but that's not how the game is played. It's not straight line speed. It's knowing when to make those runs. And I think that's part of where Gyökeres has had a little trouble relative to some of the others. But yeah, and credit to Martinelli too for the way he wasn't going to be pulled off that ball. He fights his way through that tackle.
He muscled his way through, and he found a path. That he blazed a path. That was something. But and we got to see on the prone position variant of the Baines celebration after he got taken down. That was fun.
Yeah, I guess as I said, there were moments in this game where you could have felt a little jeopardy, but honestly, you look back on it and it's a relatively light day, a 3-0 win. We're recording this on Saturday. Obviously, for us, tomorrow, you'll know by the time you see this, but tomorrow, of course, is Manchester City Liverpool. Last week, City played Spurs, and they played United a week or two before that. We've talked about the difficult stretches we've gone through this season. And look, we've talked about how good Sunderland is. We know Brentford's not a joke, but you look at, we're kind of in a stretch where we are actually getting a bit of a break in our competition as opposed to Villa and Spurs and Chelsea and City. Like it feels like you're and United and you're playing these big teams, these big games, and we're finally in a stretch where we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas City's going through that now. So things are. This is how you want that to go. We walk into this game. It's a home game against a team we should beat, and we beat them without, frankly, a lot of fuss.
Yeah. Along the lines of minor jersey-related stuff that I noticed that's just kind of fun to observe, you've probably seen a handful of times over the years, you'll see someone, the captain gets subbed off. So let's say Odegaard comes off and he's handing off the captain's armband to Saka, right? And I think we actually saw Gabriel wearing the armband against Chelsea, with Odegaard and Saka both out. But so you'll see them, they stick their fingers, whoever's taking it off of him to help in the transfer, puts their fingers underneath the armband, spreads it out, pulls it down off the arm, and then uses those same spread fingers, like moving the elastic armband onto another sleeve. I don't know if each club picks their supplier for the armband or what it is, but I noticed with Sunderland today, and I'll pay attention the next time Arsenal does a transfer too, instead of like a stretchy thing they're manipulating by spreading their hands apart, it was wrapped around the arm where there was like a string, like a thinner slice of fabric. I'm sure I'm not using the right term, but like a thinner little strap that went underneath and they were just kind of winding it over like it was held on with Velcro or something. I thought that was just a kind of funny note.
Yeah, no, I have to say I'm not as familiar with the intricacies of the captain's armband in that regard.
More to come as I pay attention throughout the rest of the season and see if this is a Sunderland thing or a new Premier League thing. I will let you know.